Hello, welcome to Anatomy and Physiology 2. I'm excited to have you here for this course. I'm Dr. Emily Keel, and I'll be the professor for this online section. A little bit about me. I practiced as a small animal veterinarian for 12 years and then had a real interest in teaching. And so here I am wanting to share some of my tricks for remembering things as well as some of the clinical applications. I want you to be able to remember these things and find what might be practical in your future careers. I have two little kitty cats, Gilbert and Edith, and so occasionally in the videos, they make a little cameo just in case you see them. So my plan for right now is I'm going to go through everything on Canvas with you, give you some information about the course in general so that you're ready to get started. Few things to be aware of. This is a summer course, so it is very rapid and fast-paced. Rule of thumb is that you will spend 3 hours for every 3 credit hours in a normal semester, and that's each week. So our semester is half the length for the summer courses. So think of that. You should be looking at spending 18 to 20 hours on the material each week. So work on getting your schedules and your time management, have some expectations as we get started. I also want to give a caveat about lab. You should be enrolled in the co-requisite lab for this course. Just so you know, the lab and the lecture do not always line up 100%. That is okay. As we get to the end, it will line up more and more. I know in the past there's been some frustration for students, but we really want to spend a lot of time on the cardiovascular system and blood. And because we want that emphasis on things that are practical, things that you'll see, you may notice that it doesn't line up 100%. Oh, look, there's Gilbert. He wants to be in the film. He says hello. So keep those things in your mind as we get started. So I'm going to share my screen so that you can see what we've got here. So here is our Canvas portal. I've got the student mode on, and we'll go ahead and start with the simple syllabus. The syllabus is the contract between you and me, and it tells you what to expect from me and what I can expect from you. So you'll want to read the syllabus, and then you need to click the acknowledge button once you've read that. And I'm going to go ahead and scroll down a little bit. Instructor information. This is my email address. Email is the best way to reach me, and I usually respond within 24 hours, though for sure within 48 hours. I want to be available. And I know that we're virtual. I don't have official office hours, but I'm always happy to meet with you. So don't feel bad. Don't feel like it's a sign of weakness. Don't feel like I'm going to be frustrated. I'm here because I want to help. So always reach out if you want to schedule a Zoom chat virtually. I'm happy to go over old exams, hear how you're studying, and see if we can tweak some things, explain concepts that may be unfamiliar. That feedback is helpful for me as I organize the course, and then also helps you out. So I'm going to go through. We've got our course outcomes. We've got the textbook that you need. This is the same textbook as was used in Anatomy and Physiology 1. So we'll be doing the back half of the textbook. You will need a textbook. I recommend a physical one. Students with a physical one do better on their exams. You also need to have the access to the Pearson MyLab platform. We have some assignments that will be there, as well as some things that you can study. So make sure that you've got a computer system that does what's needed. All tests in this course are via HonorLock. So you want to make sure you have a computer with a webcam, with a microphone that has the right software and that consistently works. Let's look at the grades, because I know that's the thing you're probably most interested in at this stage. So we have 4 unit tests. Each unit is 2 to 3 chapters. They're worth 50% of your grade, and I do drop the lowest test grade. I want you to be aware that I talk about dropping test grades or dropping assignments. This is how I offer extra credit per se in the course. So it allows you some freedom for emergencies that might come up, illnesses that might come up. That is why those exist. And I think you would much prefer, if you have a bad day on a test, you get a 50, you're really disappointed, much prefer that to be dropped rather than to just be offered 10 bonus points, which means you have a 60 in your grade. And this also accounts for any technical issues in a virtual course. So I don't do makeups on exams or on assignments because the computer or the internet is out or anything of that nature. Those are things you can be working on, and there's options as well if we need to explore other things, but that's why we drop that lowest test score. There are quizzes in Pearson MyLab. They have one attempt on them. They are timed, and they're worth 15% of your grade. Lowest quiz grade is dropped. And then you have homework assignments. These are also in Pearson MyLab. And then we have study guides for each unit. They're the guided notes that we'll go over. The lowest grade of those is dropped as well. We have a cumulative final exam that covers everything for the semester. It cannot be dropped. So unfortunately, you can't learn it and forget it. This is where reviewing past exams is important because we learn from our mistakes. So make sure that your assignments are submitted by the due date. If your life is crazy and you've got a wild work schedule or lots of family things going on, I recommend that you start those assignments earlier rather than waiting to the last minute because there are not extensions. Again, it can be dropped, but they're not extensions for those things. We'll talk a little bit about testing violations as we go on as well. So we've got the quizzes that are online. You're going to actually get 2 times to take each quiz. For the quizzes and the homework, please use all of your attempts. You know, if you do it the first time and you get a 70 and there's still more attempts, do it again. Try to see if you can get an 80 or a 90. 1, it helps you learn, and 2, that's going to help your grade. Help compensate in case you had a bad test day, in case you had an emergency or anything like that. The homework should be left open after it's complete, so a great way to practice for the exam. You're also going to have study guides or guided notes that are in each unit. They're going to be, you'll see the assignment to submit them under the exam module. These you will need to print out physically and handwrite your responses. It can either be done on the paper itself, or if a printer is an issue, you can write it on some lined notebook paper or any kind of paper of that nature. But the writing process helps you. The goal of these is to take you through the textbook so that you're reading the sections that are important and so that you're working with the material so that you're seeing it and identifying what are the key things in the textbook. It'll also help you see if there's a question and you see several pages that aren't covered in the questions, then you might know, okay, we're not responsible for that material. So hopefully it'll help guide you and focus your studying a little bit more. So we've got our exams. These are done through HonorLock. They usually are open for 2 to 3 days, and I do my best to make that on a weekday and a weekend, though with a summer course, there may be some weekday testing only as well. Things to study for the exam: study the PowerPoints and the online lectures, study the study guides. Those are the big things questions will be taken from. These tests are honor locked. I take honor lock violations incredibly seriously. Most people in this course are going into some kind of healthcare where your knowledge and your decisions can be the difference between a right diagnosis and a wrong diagnosis. And if there's an emergency in whatever field you're in, if you have slid through by cheating on exams, that could potentially be a person's life at risk. And so I take it really, really really seriously. If you have any violations of the honor lock policy, you will receive a 0 and that grade will not be dropped. So be aware of that. I know some students take online courses because they know ways around this. I also know those ways. I will follow up on this seriously. Do not use artificial intelligence to complete assignments, quizzes, or exams. If I find evidence of that, again, I will give no credit. I am going to talk about, at the end, ways that artificial intelligence can be fabulous when you're studying for anatomy and physiology. So stay tuned. As we get started, you'll need to do the welcoming assignments and the getting started assignments. That is what tells the state of Florida you're really here, you're really participating. If you do not do those, I will drop you. You will want to be accessing this material almost every day as we're going through, probably a couple of times a day, and be sure that you're checking your email weekly. I do send announcements. It will probably be twice a week, again, since we're on an expedited schedule, but those are important to be aware of. We'll talk about the honor lock a little bit more as we get closer to that, but do be aware we've got some honor lock policies here. A reminder, it's going to be about 18 hours of coursework per week. That's for an in-person class. So you are virtual. So you'll need to add 2 or 3 hours to that for doing the lectures. Unfortunately, a lot of anatomy is time and time spent the right way. And we'll talk, I've got some studied strategies and tips. You've made it through AP1, so you know a little bit what works for you, but there's always room to tweak it. Learning how to study well is a skill and something that takes time. And so this is a place to develop that. We talked about my email. Please be respectful online. If you're traveling outside the US, make sure that you email IT so that you have access to everything for the course. And then just be aware, the drop date is the 13th for a full refund, and then the withdrawal date is June 3rd. So know that those are coming up. Few more syllabus things for you to look at on your own, some resources that may be helpful, things about the library, things about accessibility, and then if you have questions about the syllabus, please let me know. The place where you will be spending most of your time is in the modules. So let me get those started for you. You will want to go through all of the welcome and all of the course requirements to open up this first unit. So be aware of that. This will be where the video is. Here is how to purchase your required MyLab and textbook, but the big thing is our schedule of activities. This is our schedule of when things will happen and what will be happening. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up for you. If you need to download something, I want to show you where that button is so that you're able to do that. So it will open it up automatically here, but this little arrow is for downloading so that you can have it on your computer for any time you want it. All of the assignments are due by 11:59 p.m. unless it's specifically noted on the schedule. So we'll start with Unit 1, the cardiovascular system. This will let you know what you need to watch, what you need to be doing. These Unit 1 study guides, I will adjust so that it reads guided notes. So there's a little bit more similar terminology and you can find where they are more easily. So this is where we'll be about each week or kind of how to prepare for each chapter. So for example, on Monday, you're going to have the Pearson MyLab homework for chapter 17. So you'll want to have watched the blood lecture, you'll want to have done the guided notes for chapter 17 and done the Pearson assignment. The Start Here activities are due on the 8th, and that includes the Start Here quiz and the Code of Conduct. You'll see here our first unit test is going to be on Friday, May 15th. It will be open Friday to Sunday. And then your study guide and your guided notes will be due at 8 a.m. before you take the exam. Most exams are 44 multiple choice questions and 6 short answer questions. If you provide information in the short answer that was not clearly in the textbook or discussed in the lecture or in class, that is considered evidence that you may have cheated or that you may have used other resources to get those answers. And so I will count those incorrect. So make sure that you're using the material and talking about the things that we've talked about together. So again, May 6th through 17th, this is kind of the things that we'll be looking at and when your assignments are due. Gives you some freedom of when to accomplish things, but you will need a lot of study skills, self-discipline, and time management to make sure you get things completed. We'll go back to those modules, and I do want you to do the student introduction. That helps me get to know you, especially helps me get to know what you're interested in. Sometimes if I have a lot of students interested in ultrasound, I'll try to throw in a few extra ultrasound clinical correlations or something of that nature, kind of to help the field you might be going into. This video is some study tips that I've made. Every individual is different in how they study, how they learn. Some of it is trial and error, but it's a great option to kind of look through and think, okay, what might help me? What have I not tried? What might work differently? And then you've got some other resources as needed. So when we look at each unit is going to come with each chapter is going to come with a slide deck, which is what I use in my presentation. It's going to come with a video lecture, and this is through YouTube, though when you watch through Canvas, you get no ads. I actually give the lectures, so it's not anonymous from the textbook. It's the things that I'm interested in. You get to spend some time with me. You get to hear some fun stories occasionally. So you'll want to watch the video lecture, and then here are the guided notes. I'm going to exit the student view just so I can show you those things a little bit. Because I want you to be able to see what it's going to look like. So the video lectures, they are integrated right into the page. So usually about an hour, though there are a couple of lectures that are longer. And again, you have access to those PowerPoints. When we get to the guided notes, I want to show you those. Again, you can download them using that arrow. You want to complete them and handwritten, either printed or on notebook paper. And again, it should follow the order of the chapter. Sometimes it asks for diagrams or little pictures. I don't judge your art skills. I'm not the best artist in the world, but trying to integrate other parts of your mind, trying to process the information. And then at the end, you'll see that there is a section for you to do the review questions in your textbook, which can be helpful because they have diagramming, they have labeling, you're seeing the information more, which means you're going to remember it. These are graded for completion. If you do more than 95%, you'll get full points. If you do anywhere between 20 and 95%, you'll get half points. And if you do less than 20%, you'll get no points. When I grade for completion, I also grade to make sure it makes sense and that you didn't skip any questions. So if I see that a lot of things look wrong or incomplete, that may affect the percentage of completion and your score that you receive. So those are the guided notes. You will want to use your syllabus to help you log in to Pearson, similar to AP1. That's where your quizzes and your assignments will be. Here they are put directly into each chapter for you. These external videos are extra study helps for you. They're not required, but if you get to a point and you say, man, I'm really having a hard time with blood typing, I've watched the lecture, I've looked at the textbook, I need more help, that's the place to go. May say it in a different way, use different images, help it make more sense. The tests are also in their own module. So this is where you will submit those guided notes. You'll submit for all 3 chapters. You can either do that by scanning, you can take a photograph of each page, or you can take a brief video where you look at each page for 5 seconds and I am able to pause and see the pages that are completed. So there's where you'll submit those. And then there is a study guide for the exam as well. highlighting those things that are most significant. The test is not going to be exactly question for question, word from word from the study guide, though I will try to stick with those topics that are, emphasized on the study guide. The tutoring center, even though you're virtual, it still has resources. So they have tutors that will have office hours where you can call in via Zoom to get help. There are tutoring options with BrainFuse that allows tutoring 24 hours a day. Again, use those resources to help you as you prepare. We'll talk a little bit more again about the honor lock things as we get closer to that date. If you want to look at the assignments overall, you'll see them in the assignments area. You can see the chapters, you can see what's due for everything, you can see the breakdown. You have your grades here. I do not initially put in the dropped grade because then it usually drops the first test grade and everyone gets a false sense of how things are. So usually about the third test grade, I'll go ahead and put in all of those drops for you. You can use that to look at your grades, those types of things. I think that is it for me right now on the modules. I do have a couple of other, I wrote them down, little reminder things that I want you to be aware of. You can look at me again. Making sure I did everything because I don't want to miss anything. Oh, your future self. Okay, this is when we have the hard conversation. Imagine yourself at the end of the semester. That's your future self. You've had a rough semester. You had 2 tests that didn't go well. Future self is panicked about your grade. Future self emails me and says, oh my goodness, I'm so upset. My grade is not what I wanted it to be. What can I do? Well, future self, you only have past self to blame. And so now is the time to get those quizzes and assignments done, do them to the best of your ability, study for the exam. It's all a favor for your future self so that come the end of the semester, you're not living with regret. So keep that in mind when you're like, man, I'm really tired. I don't want to do that assignment. I don't want to study for the test. That will come back at the end of the semester and you may be disappointed with that. We spend a lot of time thinking about future self and how future self will be glad that I did the dishes that day. As you go through, think about the anatomy and the physiology in a couple of terms. Think about the anatomy as the organ as a whole. So, for example, let's think about the kidney. What does the kidney look like? What does it look like on a cut section? How do we label that? Think about each organ and system microscopically. What types of cells are there? How are those cells arranged? We learned about all those epithelial cells in AP1, and you'll be seeing those back again. And then think about, for each organ or part of the system, what is its function? What does it do? How does it do it? So is it absorbing? Is it secreting? That might be an example that we see in the kidneys. What controls it? Is it hormones? Is it the nervous system? Is it local signals? How is it controlled to know what to do with its functions? And then what happens when that goes wrong when we think about our clinical correlations? Finally, I do want to show you this resource. This is from the American Association of College and University Educators. And this is, I'll put this chart up, but this is study strategies that have been shown to work. Oh, it doesn't help if you don't share your screen, Dr. Keel. Here we go. So Association of College and University Educators, study strategies that we know work. So retrieval practice, this is having yourself quizzed, asking questions of yourself, making yourself recall the information and figure out an answer. Much more effective than just reading. The study strategy of spaced repetition, this means don't cram. Do a little bit each day. Again, if we're thinking 18 to 20 hours per week, that's about 3 hours a day. You can space that out. You don't have to do it all at once, and that may actually help you out a little bit more. Elaboration is explaining something. For example, explain it to a family member, explain it in your car. I explain it to my pets. You want to be able to talk about the entire process. When you teach it, you actually learn it better, and you kind of learn, "Oh, that part's a little fuzzy. Let me go see what that is." Interleaving means to relate different topics, so you're not just in one topic. So for example, we're going to talk about hormones when we talk about both chapter 16, the endocrine system, and chapter 24 with the urinary system. So kind of taking the things that you've learned in the past and mix those together. And then learning from errors is really important. I can't emphasize that enough. That's why we do the homework. That's why we do the quizzes. That's why checking your tests afterwards is important. It actually helps you remember things better. So what is this chart anyway? This chart is using AI to help you in those ways. So AI works best when it's giving you feedback. So you create something, you write something, you have something that you give AI, and then you ask it to give you something back from that, better than just making it create it on its own. So for example, for a retrieval practice, you could ask AI, ask me 8 short answer questions about mitosis. Do not give the answers until I respond. So you answer the questions, and AI in real time will give you feedback and say, hey, you missed this one. This is why. You are able to even feed AI your notes from the course, and they will know what we studied and use that to pull your notes. So there is AI services through Google that can do that. We have some access through AI through the university. It's a study strategy. Spaced repetition, I love this. You tell it your schedule, or you just say, give me a 10-day plan to break down this information, and you show it what we're learning, and it's able to say, hey, at this time, try this. At this time, try this. Elaboration can be you explaining the process to AI, and then AI can either ask you questions back about it or say like, hey, this isn't unclear. We need to clear that up. Interleaving can help you create information that weaves together. And then learning for errors. I love this one. This is how your future will look with AI in medicine and healthcare, because AI is going to do things like help write your medical records. It's going to help you read radiographs. It's going to flag lab reports for you. But AI makes errors and can make, and it does a good job of those things, but it can make significant errors. And so one of the goals is to be able to say, okay, this is the information I know. I recognize you've made an error. And so let me act with the appropriate information that I need. So you can say, show me a diagram of the gastrointestinal system. Label 3 things wrong, and then see if you can find those 3 things, or ask it to explain something to you, and then you fix the errors. These are great options for studying that may be a little different than just, oh, look at some flashcards or something of that nature. Again, I'm always happy if you want to email me. We can schedule a meeting and we can talk about how you've studied, what can we do to change it. Unfortunately, some of it is just time with the material. So again, get your schedule, get kind of your routine. I don't know if that's you getting up early in the morning. I have a friend that gets up at 4 o'clock every morning. She works from 4 to 7 before she goes to work because she knows no one's going to bother her. Some people, that's at night, and they're fresh when they do that. That's fine too. Maybe it's at lunch. Maybe you look at downloading the YouTube video or another video and listen to it in your car or while you're working out. Anything like that to kind of help get that information in more frequently. Feel free to reach out with any questions. I look forward to meeting you in the discussion, and I look forward to an exciting journey with you. Don't forget to do your welcoming activities so that I get you marked as being present. I'll see you in the discussion. Bye-bye.